Big update on Kelly and Mark's relationship. We have become numb to the digital age's constant noise. Headlines scream, notifications ping, and stories of celebrity lives flicker past in a blur of curated glamour and manufactured drama. We scroll, we skim, we forget. But then a story emerges that does not ask for your attention, it commands it. It cuts through the static with the quiet, devastating force of a truth too profound to ignore. Heartbreaking ICU moment. Mark Consuelos' final wish shocks Kelly Ripa. The tabloid headline, in all its capitalized, emoji-laden urgency, promises salacious shock. Yet, for those who chose to look beyond its clickbait veneer, it unlocked a portal to something far more rare. An unvarnished glimpse into the inner sanctum of a decades-long marriage, a testament to love that is not about perpetual romance, but profound stewardship. This was not a story of scandal, but of sacrament. What unfolded was a narrative that transcended the confines of celebrity gossip. It became a universal parable about the vows we make, the promises we keep when the cameras are off and the lights are dim, and the heartbreaking, beautiful responsibility of loving someone enough to think of their peace after you are gone. This is not merely about a final wish. This is about the architecture of a love, built day by day for nearly 3 decades, and how it was stress-tested in life's most terrifying crucible. The foundation, a love story written in quiet devotion. To understand the weight of that ICU moment, we must first dismantle the shiny talk show couch image of Kelly and Mark. Theirs is a love story that began not with fanfare, but with a fierce, instantaneous certainty. Kelly Ripa, America's effervescent morning sweetheart, met Mark Consuelo, a broodingly handsome actor with a quiet intensity, on the set of All My Children in 1995. The chemistry was not just for the cameras. As both have recounted, it was a bolt of lightning, a recognition. Their courtship was a secret, their elopement in 1996 a defiant act of privacy in an increasingly public life. This set the template. Their relationship's core would always be protected, a sacred space separate from the demands of fame. While Kelly's career skyrocketed into the stratosphere of daytime television, becoming a constant, bubbly presence in millions of homes, Mark became her steady, grounded counterpoint. He was not the famous husband in her shadow, he was her anchor, her editor, her most trusted confidant. On their show, Live with Kelly and Mark, their dynamic plays out in real time, her whirlwind energy playfully bumping against his dry, deadpan humor. He is the calm to her storm, the eye of her hurricane. Viewers are not watching performers, they are witnessing a long-married couple who still genuinely enjoy each other's company. They bicker about chores, tease about habits, and communicate in a shorthand forged over 28 years of shared life. This foundation, built on mutual respect, deep friendship, and an unshakable trust, is the essential bedrock. Without this context, the ICU story is just a shocking anecdote. With it, it becomes an inevitable chapter in their epic. The crisis, when the unthinkable becomes reality. The precise details of Mark's medical crisis have been, rightly, kept private. What matters is the universal terror it represents, the phone call, the cold rush of dread, the world narrowing to the sterile hallway of a hospital. For Kelly, the woman who orchestrates chaos for a living, who is always in control, this was the ultimate loss of control. Her partner, her strong, healthy husband, was suddenly vulnerable in a way that defied all understanding. The ICU is a world apart. Time distorts. The rhythmic beeps of monitors become a tyrannical clock. The air smells of antiseptic and anxiety. In that space, you are no longer a celebrity, a host, a star. You are a human, reduced to your most primal role, a loved one, clinging to hope. For Kelly, sitting vigil, the frantic public persona necessarily fell away. Here was just a wife, holding the hand of the man she built her life with, watching the rise and fall of his chest, each breath a prayer. And for Mark, in the haze of medication and critical condition, facing a mortality he had perhaps never squarely confronted, his mind did not go to fame, legacy, or unfinished business in the conventional sense. His mind, in its most compromised and therefore most honest state, went to her, to Kelly, to the person who would have to navigate the world without him. The wish, find love again. It is here, in this bleak landscape of fear, that Mark's final wish was uttered. According to Kelly's recounting, with a rawness that left a live studio audience and millions at home in tearful silence, Mark looked at her from his hospital bed and told her that she had to promise him one thing. She had to promise to find love again. The shock value the headline promises is real, but it is a misdirected shock. The surface-level surprise is he'd want her to be with someone else, but the true, profound shock lies in the staggering selflessness it represents. This was not a man giving permission, that would imply ownership. This was a man, in what he believed could be his final act of love, attempting to guarantee her future happiness. Think of the layers contained in that simple, devastating sentence. The release from guilt. He was proactively absolving her of any future guilt. In his mind, he was dismantling the potential for a lifetime of lonely loyalty, freeing her from a vow that would become a cage. He was saying, my love for you is not possessive. It wants your joy, even if I am not its source. The acknowledgement of her capacity for love. He was honoring the very thing that drew him to her, her big, open, generous heart. He was confirming, you have so much love to give. That cannot die with me. The ultimate act of stewardship. For nearly 3 decades, his role had been to partner her, to support her, to build a life and family with her. In this moment, he was trying to perform one last act of stewardship, ensuring she would not be alone, that she would be cared for, that her light would not be dimmed by grief. This is not merely about a final wish. This is about the architecture of a love, built day by day for nearly 3 decades, and how it was stress-tested in life's most terrifying crucible. The public confession. Vulnerability as a love letter. The decision to share this story publicly was undoubtedly agonizing. Kelly and Mark are professionals. They understand the media machine. They knew it would become a headline. So why share it? This was not a rating stunt. This was an act of radical vulnerability that served multiple purposes. First, for Kelly, narrating the trauma was perhaps a part of processing it. Speaking it into the open air, sharing it with an audience that had, in a way, journeyed with their family for years, robbed the memory of some of its solitary power. Second, and more importantly, by sharing it with Mark sitting beside her, it became a public love letter. She was telling the world, look at this man, look at the caliber of his soul. In his darkest hour, his thoughts were for me. She was honoring him, immortalizing his character in front of millions. Mark's quiet, emotional reaction on the couch, the downcast eyes, the slight nod, the clasping of her hand, was its own powerful testament. He was not a subject of a story, he was a partner in its telling, reaffirming its truth and its emotional weight. In sharing it, they transformed a private horror into a public lesson on the depth of marital love. They allowed their story to become a mirror for others, prompting essential, if difficult, conversations in living rooms and kitchens everywhere. What would I say? What would I want for my partner? Have I loved with that kind of selflessness? The aftermath. Love, mortality, and the new normal. Mark's recovery, thank goodness, was full. But one does not walk out of the valley of the shadow unchanged. The experience irrevocably alters the landscape of a marriage. The final wish, though thankfully not needed, remains. It hangs in the air between them now, not as a morbid reminder, but as a crystalline revelation of their bond's true nature. It forces a reprioritization. The petty annoyances, the minor grievances that accumulate in any long-term relationship are burned away. What remains is the essential truth that was laid bare in that hospital room. They are each other's person, irrevocably and against all odds. There is a deepened gratitude for the mundane, for shared mornings, for inside jokes, for the simple act of sitting together in comfortable silence. This episode also speaks to our broader cultural relationship with mortality. We live in a society that often treats death as a technological failure to be avoided in conversation, not an inevitable reality to be prepared for. Mark and Kelly, by confronting it in such a raw way, inadvertently became advocates for a more courageous dialogue. They demonstrated that talking about the end is not a curse, but perhaps the ultimate act of caregiving. It is about making wishes known, about easing the burden of those left behind, about saying the things that matter most while there is time. Their story argues that a final wish should not be a last-minute gasp, but a continuous conversation woven into the fabric of a shared life. It's about wills and directives, yes, but more so about emotional legacies. I want you to be happy. I want you to be at peace. I want you to live fully. The legacy of a wish unfulfilled, yet uttered. The headline promised a heartbreaking ICU moment, and it was. But the heartbreak was not in the cheap, sensational way the phrasing suggests. The heartbreak was in the sublime, almost unbearable weight of a love so vast it sought to orchestrate its own replacement. Mark Consuelos' final wish for Kelly Ripa did not shock because it was unconventional. It shocked because it was a perfect, selfless love distilled into a single sentence. It was a wish that came from a place of such profound security in their bond that the idea of her future happiness outweighed any instinct for post-mortem possession. In the end, their story is not about an ending, but a renewal. The ICU moment, while traumatic, served as a brittle but clarifying crucible. It proved that their love was not just for the good times, the glamorous times, the easy times displayed on television. It was a love built for the hard times, the terrifying times, the times when all you have to offer is a promise released from your own heartbreak. The final wish, find love again, will hopefully never be enacted. But its utterance has already done its work. It has deepened the love it sought to safeguard, inspired countless others to look at their own relationships with new gravity and gratitude, and given the world a masterclass in what it truly means to love someone until death do us part. That is not heartbreaking. That is holy.